gold, as being as it is at the bottom of a massive hill, and it's kind of open all around. And then where is his third gold? I think this is his. No, actually, no, that's his. Right, this is his third gold, which is horrible again, like very far away on the other side of a forest, and really easy for Zuppi to take. So difficult map to play for Vivi. So I think we'll see him going very aggressive, probably doing scouts, because drushing on this map would be kind of dangerous if you didn't then go into a heavy flush after the drush. We see he had 3 on wood to start off with, and in 4th now, so scouts looks fairly likely to. Zuppi as well with 3 on wood, so I think we're going to see scouts for him too. And that could be a very viable strategy with how open it is over in Vivi's side of the map, because he'll be able to hit and run with the scouts. Whereas for Vivi, because Zuppi's base can be kind of more enclosed and more shut off, the scouts may not be able to get as much raiding and harassing and potentially villager picks. But we'll see how that goes. Zuppi is here quite early on with his scout, whereas Vivi's is still out in the middle of the map. So let's see if Zuppi is going to find and take this boar. Could even potentially harass that villager there with downhill hits, because it doesn't have loom. But he could have definitely hit it downhill. Is he going to take the boar? It seems like he more just wants to interfere with the boar lure than outright steal it. Or maybe he just wants to maximise villager idle time before doing that. Vivi bringing his own scout back, and Vivi. I don't understand why Zuppi took so long to steal that. Then he kind of feels as though he's made it harder for himself. And Vivi doing a really good job of blocking this actually, but looks like it's going to continue following Zuppi. Nope, it stayed. It stayed. But can the villager get there before? Yeah, villager's going to take it. That's going to be okay. Vivi does have loom now, so he can take it from there, no problems. And I think missed opportunity for Zuppi there. He definitely could have taken that boar earlier and probably had a successful steal. I thought maybe he was just trying to interfere with the lure more than actually lure it, like steal it himself, because sometimes when you see players steal a boar, it requires so much effort that it interferes with their own dark age. Obviously these super high level players, that applies to them less so. But it looked like he was reluctant to steal it, and then he kind of wanted to maximise the idle time, I think, for Vivi, but it meant that he telegraphed what he was doing, and Vivi had brought his own scout back to interfere with it. So both players with their boars, no shenanigans there really. It's just a case of waiting for the few days. You can see second lumber camp coming up for Zuppi, which pretty much guarantees that he's doing scouts along with his build order, of course. Yeah, I like these farms better. I think they're just a bit easier on the eye, and also you can like see the villagers and the units on top of them much more easily. Some people say they're ugly, but I like them. They're alpha farms if anybody's looking at them and wants them. They're in the Vivi mod list. So both players clicking up at around 805, both on 22 population, so pretty good dark ages for both. I think like if you didn't have a single millisecond of idle time, you could click up at 755 on 22 pops. So with a tiny bit of lag, those are pretty good times. Neither player having like a delayed dark age. Looking at Vivi right now. Oh yeah, he has actually made a second lumber camp. I was going to say, where else is the rest of his wood gallery? He can't do scouts with 5 on wood while he's going up. But yeah, he's made a second lumber camp down here. So both players splitting their lumber, and we're going to see scouts from both, I would be pretty confident in saying. Barrett's coming up here from Zuppi. In fact, actually, no, he's going to put it there. And he's going to build that shield of production facilities in front of his main gold, I think. Has yet to start doing some of these easy wall offs he's got down here, but he does see it, and I'm sure he'll think about doing it later on. Yeah, you don't necessarily need to finish the walls if you're referring to the ones that Vivi's done on his lumber camp, because you can just palisade yourself in with like half palisades, and it gives you enough advance warning that your villagers are safe enough for the meantime, even if you don't finish them, if that's what you're referring to. Vivi's going to come in on Zuppi's stable building and try and slow that down just a little bit, which means you could be half a scout ahead. But also with like the advantage of the hill bonus, they had a little bit of a chance of picking a villager until Zuppi's own scout and then also a spearman popped out. Zuppi's scout obviously had hits from the ball previously though, so it couldn't actually take the fight, and it's going to take the scout. Is Vivi looking? Yes, he is. Good reaction from him. And now Zuppi's going to try and wall off along here, so he's also doing it on the left hand side, perhaps a little conservative with them. Like, I feel he could have gone forward and just done here and here and then had the stone safe and just secured a little more territory without any real risk to himself. This villager being guarded by the spearman, and Zuppi's scouts coming over here to guard this villager as it completes the walls. Vivi's not going to be able to push in there, of course, because of the hill. At least while he doesn't have the most scouts, but now Zuppi's falling back a little bit. And one of Zuppi's scouts going down really quickly, and the second one being focused down very well. So I think Vivi got the slightly better engagement there, like moved it in and focused down. But Zuppi, of course, with the close reinforcements, fight could be turned by Zuppi's spearman arriving though. Two of Zuppi's scouts on very low HP, whilst Vivi has one full and one low. I think both players are just kind of having their scouts worn down by attrition here without really achieving much. This villager obviously isn't working for this whole time though, and it's also blocking the wall for, like, if Vivi remains active here, then he might be able to stop the wall going up, but it's not really going to happen now. And that means Zuppi is now fully walled. I don't see any holes anywhere, so that may incline him to be slightly greedier than Vivi and just go up with slightly less army and try and go up a tiny bit faster, because full wall off for Vivi, it's possible definitely, with you see the way he's laying stuff out, and importantly he's doing a good shield around his gold, but it's a little more challenging. Like, I feel like Vivi would need to be slightly less greedy than Zuppi potentially can be. So Zuppi's scouts coming across the map now. He's up onto 5 again. A couple of them on extremely low HP though, as is one of Vivi's. A couple of archer ranges coming up for Vivi, so that's the pretty standard transition into archers from scouts. Just going to see what happens here and then just check if Vivi's doing ranges yet. Sorry, if Zuppi is doing ranges yet. But I heard one go up. He's got one, just one for now. So Vivi a little bit faster with his archer ranges. That's going to give him a lead in archer production. Well, it'd be interesting to see if Zuppi just tries to maybe not produce too many archers and crossbows and tries to switch into, like, go up and do cavalry archers more quickly. I don't think he'll be able to get away with just producing nothing, maybe because Vivi is presumably producing from 2 ranges and will be battering down those walls with earnest if Zuppi doesn't show enough military presence. Wheelbarrow just finishing for Vivi. I think Zuppi was a little bit earlier on that one. Let's have a look at Castle Age. Like, Zuppi just 200 food and 100 gold away, whereas Vivi a little bit further, not massively so, but he's struggling to kind of bank gold at the moment whilst producing archers. Farm count, how are we doing? 15 farmers for Vivi, 13 for Zuppi, yet he has more food. Could be down to the earlier wheelbarrow. I also feel like Vivi maybe produces one more scout, although that's really hard to tell at this point when both players have lost scouts. But yeah, Zuppi going with that earlier Castle Age click really. He's actually basically done 5 or so scouts and then gone for a kind of, not an FC, but he's rushed the Castle Age, having only produced 3 archers before clicking up. Adding a 3rd range as well. I feel like he's going to do a few crossbows and then try and go earlier to cavalry archers. Whereas Vivi seems to be going up a little bit later, producing more archers, but may have a slight more focus on crossbows in the start of Castle Age. Both players still with a decent number of scouts remaining at this point, but they serve limited purpose on a Castle Age battlefield. And Zuppi is actually getting pretty caught out there by archers taking a lot of hits. So Vivi adding the 3rd range as well, so kind of similar play from both actually. Zuppi is still doing some archers. Both players getting fletching on the way up. Vivi with gold mining, let's see if Zuppi actually has that. Yeah, Zuppi with gold mining as well, so pretty much similar things going on for both players now. And both players being very passive and cautious. I was saying before the game, I feel like Zuppi plays in that style quite a lot. Like sometimes you will see him forward or whatever, but he's not someone who will take tons and tons of risks all the time. I don't think, from my experience of watching him. Whereas Vivi kind of seems like more of a creative risk taker in some games, but not so in this one. This could be a really nice pick hit if going downhill against the archers, if Vivi wanted to actually fight that. I mean, I feel like he could have done that. I mean, it's not like he wouldn't have lost the scouts to the archers, but could have picked off some archers of Zuppi before they turn into crossbows, which would be a very good use of the scouts once you reach the Castle Age. You can see that Vivi is hesitant to actually go in there, even though he had the numbers advantage, just because of the tech coming in for Zuppi. They advanced to the crossbow, and Bogkin done already with +1 armor on the way. Zuppi actually using some of his spare scouts just to recover more of the map, but also guard a relic. It's a pretty good idea, because it could be a free snipe on a monk in the late game, and it's like, what else are you going to do with the scouts at this point when there are large amounts of crossbows on the field? Pretty early turn watch for Vivi, so he perhaps feels that he just wants to have a bit more idea of what's going on and be less vulnerable to raiding, although he has sealed in his base pretty well. Like, I was looking at how wide open the front of Vivi's base and was at the start of the game, but I think he's done a really nice job of sealing it all in. See the first crossbow engagements coming in here a little bit, just the one crossbow going down for Vivi as both armies go straight past each other. Early ballistics for Vivi as well, actually. Done a university straight away. So he'll be looking to do some damage, whereas Zuppi has opted for TC first and foremost. I think Vivi just going to be a little bit delayed on that town centre. He also did a tower on his gold, so despite sealing it in with these walls, still felt a bit vulnerable there, and some stone walls, so he doesn't have the actual stone to drop a town centre anytime soon, which is why he sent a couple of villagers out just to go and take 50 so stone to start off with to get that TC, and that was why that villager gets picked off on the stone mine. There could be another one here. But Vivi saves that one from its death at least. And he is in at the base of Zuppi with Thumbring done and Ballistics already done. So potentially a lot of villager kills if he manages to catch some like out in the open, but that's going to be difficult. Zuppi's base is very, very compact, and he may only get like an odd picking over the top of a wood line or something. For now though, the first big engagement's coming in down here. Vivi doesn't actually have bloodlines on those cavalry archers, so I don't think he wants to engage there. But whilst all that's going on, he's moving on this wood line, and with ballistics and thumb ring done, he's going to get up a great number of kills here. Look at that. The mangonel is coming. Oh, I need to look at two places at once here. Will Vivi see the mangonel coming? No, he doesn't. Huge shot, about 5 going down. Still enough crossbows there to out-micro the mangonel. But meanwhile, on the engagement over at Vivi's base, it looks like most of the crossbows for Zuppi actually went down, whilst Vivi still has a better number of cavalry archers. Don't know if there was a second shot on the crossbows there with those other 2 bodies. The numbers here do look diminished. But meanwhile, Zuppi is in on the gold of Vivi. So we've got engagements going on in 3 places now with Zuppi's CA. Busting through a wall there. I don't know if there's one tile of wall. Or whether he just shot it through, but don't really see too much in the way of villager death there. But after a very passive and slow burning game, suddenly a lot going on with engagements in 3 places. But I think Vivi on the whole did the best out of that. Scores still say that the players are evenly tied, but I think what we're looking at there is Vivi has a military lead at the moment, whereas Zuppi has a bit of an economy lead. He would have a much greater villager advantage if it wasn't for the losses on this wood line, I think. Vivi's going to prowl around with crossbows here. Zuppi massing CA in the kind of centre left of the map, and they could run into Vivi's CA, so who's patrolling and who's not here? Both players patrolling. Yeah, Vivi was on patrol, which is good to see. No Titanics happening here. But that was a nice trap, actually. Zuppi actually can't take that at all because the crossbows are there, and I don't know if there's a little hole here. Always hard to tell. But I guess there's not, but it just kind of, it looks like one of those situations like where there might be. But Vivi occupying this hill pretty nicely now. He's camping outside the ranges of Zuppi, and it means that Zuppi is having a hard time actually joining up his armies because he can't reinforce out to his main group. He has to send some inside, some outside. And Vivi, remarkably, is going to try and do a siege workshop on that hill. Those villagers must be coming from miles away, the other side of the map, so good luck to them. But meanwhile, a couple of villagers going down in the wood line in exchange for 1 cavalry archer to the mangonel. And Vivi still doesn't have a second town sector, he's just now building one. And yet he's only 5 or 6 villagers behind Zuppi, who has been on 2 TCs for pretty much the entire Castle Age. So you can say that Vivi's really using his military to great effect there, because he's taking applying pressure to Zuppi's map and basically almost staying level on villagers whilst being down 1 TC. The numbers in this forward area for Vivi are starting to look slightly diminished, which is why I think Zuppi was prepared to have a go there, but even with the hill. But with thumb ring and ballistics done, those archery units for Vivi are pretty strong. This is a really nice payoff, possibly. I'm surprised Zuppi... I mean, he had the numbers there to take that fight, but perhaps he just doesn't want to get his army worn down by that level of attrition. I think the difference in thumb ring, I always find it hard to tell by eye, but I don't feel like Zuppi actually has thumb ring, and that could be why he's not really taking these engagements. But he's getting caught out by this is not the first time in this game that Vivi has kind of encircled him and attacked him from 2 directions, or brought in some reinforcements from the flank or from behind. And Zuppi taking lots of losses, really. Is now finally able to group up an army together. Vivi had to be slightly more conservative with that siege workshop he wanted to put on this hill. Just deleted it and built it a little bit further back. Battering ram is going to come out for him. Remains to be seen how well that's going to work, because Zuppi does have a mangonel prowling behind these walls, as he has had for most of the game, because I think that's the third one he's produced. I almost feel like a mangonel on this hill, sorry, would work better for pushing in and destroying those archery ranges. But Vivi's also going to go with a watchtower on Zuppi's main stone, which is kind of interesting. It gives him a little bit of firepower from the hill and a little bit of fortification there, but not necessarily the most threatening thing. And Zuppi becoming increasingly concerned about this push in now, but with Vivi actually having taken hold of that hill, there's not a lot he can do to actually push against it. I mean, he's either got to defend from like here, or push up against this hill, which is neither of which are very favourable things, because he defends from inside his base, he's basically losing access to a wood line and quite a lot of farms. If he tries to push in here, he's going to take very bad trade in the fight, because he's trying to push uphill. And it feels like he's just going to raid instead and see if he can do something whilst Vivi's entire army's away. But Vivi is now in. That mangonel is not going to survive very long. Fighting under the TC, but with enough cavalry archers that it's not even the worst thing in the world, considering the potential payoff from actually being here. And this could be tons of villagers if he just stops thumb ring and ballistics again here, of course, if Vivi chooses to just sit there and fight. But would have taken down so many villagers, but he has to kind of back away. He's taking too much damage from the TC. Nonetheless, good damage by Vivi there. And he's actually still got the lead by about military lead in terms of actual total units on the map by about 10. Zuppi now with a slightly greater villager lead of 17, but it's questionable whether that's actually going to help him too much whilst his economy is being disrupted to this extent, and whether Vivi's just going to flat out kill him at this point. But this is a weird move by Vivi, running under the TC quite like that and getting shot at by the cavalry archers. Like, he had more numbers, but the damage he took was very significant. Feels like a bit of a waste there. I mean, he can run here maybe and sit on the hill and pick up some more kills, but I guess what he's also trying to do is buy some time for the Rams to take down the TC, perhaps. But in the meantime, bottom right, to both players with large cavalry archer engagements, just doing a patrol against each other. But I think Zuppi had the greater numbers there, because he was had most of his army there, whereas Vivi was kind of split. But I feel like Vivi has just thrown this a little bit. I just don't know what he was doing with his army here, running under the TC and then just basically running around, taking hits. He had such a great position on this hill, and he's just kind of lost all his presence here besides the battering rams. I mean, Zuppi can just make a knight or two and it's all the rams are gone. Yeah, I do agree, Nani Vitali in the chat. The decision not to wall here is really hurting him, because this hill is being the thing that has allowed Vivi to push in. If Zuppi had walled here with palisades and then maybe reinforced with stone later on, then Vivi just wouldn't have had this hill as a base to push into Zuppi's base. I was saying at the start of the game, like, the temptation when you get a map like this is to you can end up making the mistake of not giving yourself enough space and enough ground, and I feel like that's kind of affected Zuppi in this game. But nevertheless, with Vivi having donated, I would say, almost all of his army on the map to Zuppi by taking bad fight here and a bad fight here, Zuppi looks fine now, to be honest. Got the more military units and also more villagers, so I'd say an element of luck in terms of how Vivi kind of didn't do the best plays, but firmly in control now, most likely. As long as he doesn't let all this siege do too much. Like, I was surprised he doesn't. Yeah, a couple of knights and it would sort that out easily. Vivi really needs to fix this gather point here. All those could go down in a couple of seconds to Zuppi's cavalry archers. And he sees it. A couple of kills on this wood line, but this ball of CA not doing too much for Vivi. for Zuppi, sorry. Meanwhile, Knights over here just going to clean up all of the siege of Vivi and a couple of rams from Zuppi to take down that tower as well. Handcart coming in for Zuppi, that is a late handcart timing perhaps, you would have to say. But Vivi is going to deploy some more army here to at least stop Zuppi from taking down that tower, but it's not as though it achieves a great deal, besides the fact that he can carry on mining Zuppi stone. And Vivi is just not looking here anymore, taking more kills. This is a really good strategy as well for Zuppi because actually Vivi does have that extra town centre on these extra goals now. He's done a good job of actually taking control of the map to get onto these goals because they were so exposed. And Vivi's still maintaining like a surprising amount of presence in Zuppi's base. It's not terribly damaging at this point, but considering like Zuppi would have the presence on the map to push this back, I'm surprised he's not making it a slightly higher priority. Most of his economy is over here now, but interesting exchange of question marks up here. I'm not really sure what that is meant to mean. Looks like Vivi's largest board of cavalry archers trying to sneak into the economy of Zuppi on the right hand side. Zuppi fast-walled it out, which is good for him. Not a lot of HP on that building though, but he didn't have enough CA there to take that fight, and he took a lot of losses. And for now, like with Zuppi on the way to the Imperial Age, when Vivi not having clicked up and continuing to produce more army, I feel like Zuppi is a little bit light in terms of an army count on the map at the moment. Advancing to the next stage is always a time when you're pretty vulnerable to the other player if they stay in the same age as you were in, but just keep adding army. Because obviously you've got a few minutes where you've spent a ton of resources trying to advance, and yet you haven't yet benefited from the upgrades of the next stage. Zuppi trying to do a really ambitious castle in the middle of the map to take away this gold of Vivi, but it's questionable whether he's going to have the armour here. Elite Skirmisher, of course, a very big force multiplier in a cavalry archer fight, but still, there's a lot of numbers there for Vivi, and he can even try and retreat a little bit and bring the TC into the fight. Feel like this is going to be a denied castle just about, perhaps. But a lot more skirmishes and Mangonel coming could put an end to that. It's really hard to see if the Mangonel gets a couple of nice shots. Both players losing a lot of units over this engagement. Zuppi in particular, his army numbers going down quite low. Feels like it's going to go up now though. Zuppi bringing about 10 more villages to power build it, and Elite Skirmish is starting to make the difference here. And Vivi's actually always also bringing a ton of rams and some villages from over here to try and deal with this defensive market on the hill. Of course, great fortifications markets make not. And Vivi has lost control of that gold. Now where's Zuppi going over here? Nowhere, it would seem. Some CAs into Zuppi's base to do some raiding. Mangonel is there. But things looking a bit messy and disorganised for Vivi now. He is doing some good raiding over here, but it's not causing the same amount of idle and disruption as Zuppi's is. You can see like a lot of villagers were standing under this TC doing nothing. They're now power building a castle, but Zuppi is already power building a second castle on this hill, which enables him to hit what remains of this gold, which is actually next to nothing, but still gives him a great base. It means that Vivi is never getting this gold, and we're looking at a 2,000 score difference between the two players, 20 population as well, and Zuppi looks to have cleaned up his base too, more or less. No longer cares about that watchtower on the hill to really. He's looking to secure Vivi's third gold, which could spell the end because he's looking a bit gold starved. This castle is really intelligent because it can shoot at both goals at once. And you can see that it did actually kill so many villagers that were trying to mine gold. Where's Vivi going? Is he trying to do his own forward castle? Is he trying to do a siege work? No, he's trying to get this gold of Zuppi, which is pretty funny. Over here, Zuppi was going for a TC on the wood, and just to perhaps deny this route, like by fortifying it a bit, but Vivi caught him out there. But I don't think he'll be able to prevent that for too long. Meanwhile, Zuppi doing a lot of light cav spamming now, getting plate barding armor. I assume we'll see Hussar from him once he has the resources. And he's actually into the base of Vivi as well with lots of Hussars. Well, light cavs and potentially Hussars. And really the economy for Vivi is starting to look a bit small and weak. There's not much in this first base, and everything else he's doing is kind of out in the middle of the map and exposed, and perhaps not so efficient when you look at this sort of thing going on. Zuppi with the big macro advantage now, I think, even though it's kind of messy for both players still. And there we see the GG from Vivi. I think he realises that he doesn't have enough military presence on the map, and also like his economy is pretty weak. Zuppi idling a lot of it here, and then the rest of it having to be rebuilt out on the rest of the map. The other crucial factor, of course, being the gold control. See Zuppi with the 15 villager lead in total. Like, that was roughly what he was maintaining from mid Castle Age. At the start of the Castle Age, he went up onto 2 CCs really fast. Vivi went for ballistics and thumb ring pretty early and did good damage with that. So he kept even on the villager numbers, even with 1 TC versus 2 for a time. But then Zuppi stretched to about a 15 villager lead, and then that was what we saw at the end there as well. On the whole, though, Vivi losing more units, I think that was actually not something that was going on for quite a while. Like, Vivi was taking the best fights up until kind of mid-late Castle, where he lost a ton of units in Zuppi's base, but also then took a bad cavalry archer fight on the right side of his own base, and kind of from that moment on had so little military presence on the map. He did kind of regain those numbers, but Zuppi was up to imp by then and adding elite skirmisher and stuff when he was pure cav arch. So no way back from him really after those bad fights. He looked poised to push into Zuppi's base, but not to be achieved in the end. So Zuppi's on the left hand side. Let's do the scores and head into the next game.